And good morning. I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. It is time for Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. Every week, we partner up with Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County. We feature 3 fugitives. These are individuals that have active warrants out of Cuyahoga County. They need to be brought in. While they're presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law, they still need to get into that court, and that's where you come in, and you can help clean up our streets by turning in tips on our fugitives. Just last week, we featured a woman here around this same time, about 10:30 last week. She was in custody within 8 hours. That is how powerful the work you are doing at home. You can share this if you're watching on one of our digital properties. If you're watching on Facebook, share the video. We know how powerful social media can be, and we are having an incredible success rate, about a 38% capture rate. That means 1 out of the 3 individuals we're about to show you today could end up in jail and in front of a judge. We're going to welcome in, as we always do, Detective Red Dyer with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department. Detective, how are you, sir?
Excellent, Dan. Excellent. How are you?
It is good to have you back, especially after last week. A pretty amazing turn of events when we feature individuals here. I guess the people watching aren't messing around when we get someone in custody within 8 hours.
Absolutely, Dan. I agree. We're very impressed by the community response that we're getting, and we appreciate that the community is taking their safety very seriously.
Absolutely, helping clean up our streets one fugitive at a time. Let's start off today with Vernon Wright. What do we know?
Well, what we know about Mr. Vernon Wright is he's wanted in connection with an incident from 2013, a kidnapping and rape. These charges also have sexually violent predator specifications attached to them, Dan. He allegedly took a male to his residence and forcibly raped him. He then transported the victim to an undisclosed location and dropped him off. Mr. Wright has a criminal history dating back to 1977, Dan. He's 6 feet tall and 225 pounds, and our warrant team, in connection with Crime Stoppers, is looking for any information that can bring Mr. Wright into custody. He was last known to be staying in the 10,000 block of Westchester Avenue in Cleveland. So if you have any information, please call in.
Pretty incredible that somebody can be charged with a crime back in 2013. Again, hasn't faced a judge and can stay on the run for 10 years. Let's find a solution to this case. Let's get him in court so that he has to answer to those charges. Next up, we have Raymond Eggers. What do we know?
Well, Dan, what we know about Mr. Eggers is that he has 3 open warrants with the Sheriff's Department for multiple violent charges. 2 warrants are for violating the conditions of his probation. In one case, for instance, in 2022, he pled guilty to having weapons while under disability for being in possession of a 9mm handgun. In another case, he pled guilty to attempted drug possession. He failed to appear for arraignment in his most recent case for aggravated robbery, and a warrant was issued for his arrest. According to indictments, Mr. Eggers used a firearm to rob the victim. As you can see, he has a history of using guns in crime, and he is not allowed to be in possession of them. He should be considered armed and dangerous. He's approximately 6'3" and 160 pounds, and was last known to be staying in the 3100 block of West 54th Street in Cleveland.
Anytime we see someone with multiple warrants, this is an individual that should not be on our streets in the least. Let's talk next about Mark Hornacki. This is an interesting case.
Yes, Stan. There's actually a lot to unpack here, so let me walk you through this. Mr. Mark Hornacki may be known on the streets as Jason Hornacki. According to reports, Mr. Hornacki drove off with the victim's 2005 Cadillac after the victim had stepped out of the vehicle to meet a friend, leaving the victim stranded. The vehicle was later recovered abandoned in North Olmsted. He's also accused, according to the indictment, of animal cruelty against the victim's dog, which we hate to see. Mr. Hornacki has a neck tattoo of the word cursed that may help identify him, as you can see in the photo on the screen now. He may also have affiliations with the prison gang, the Aryan Brotherhood. He has an extensive and violent criminal history with the Sheriff's Department and should be considered very dangerous, so we want him brought into custody. Also to note, he's not only wanted by the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, but is wanted by the Portage County Sheriff's Department for failure to appear, the Lorain County Sheriff's Department for forgery, Parma PD for failure to appear, Summit County for grand theft of a motor vehicle, the APA for fraud, and North Olmsted for failure to control and failure to stop after an accident. So multiple warrants, Dan.
Yeah, in
He-
multiple agencies.
yes, sir. And he's approximately 5'8" and 180 pounds and was last known to be staying in the 3900 block of East 42nd Street in Newburgh Heights.
And let's think about this. If your tip brings Mr. Hornacki in, he is going to be passed around for all of those warrants so that he can face charges. And the fact that he's been on the run and has warrants out with so many, a judge may be inclined to give him a high bond to make sure he stays in jail, in the system, and can face charges in multiple jurisdictions. Red, this is where we need to talk about why people should be turning in tips and why they should feel so comfortable. People think, hey, I know where this guy works. I know where she lives. I know that he works under the table at a gas station. I know the bar that he might hang out at, but I don't want to get involved. I don't want my name. I mean, some of these are very serious criminals. I can understand people's hesitation saying, hey, I don't want my name associated and on any kind of court record, any kind of document that says I turned this person in. Tell us why they shouldn't have that fear.
Well, Dan, with Crime Stoppers, that isn't a concern that you need to have. We don't have caller ID. We don't record phone calls. We don't want any of your personal or identifying information. Everything that is given to us through you, the public, is referenced through an anonymous tip number, which can be done at the phone number, at our website, or through the app portal.
And that's what we need people to remember, 216-252-7463. You're given a reference number. So as far as there being any paperwork, you're not going to be asked to testify. You just simply told investigators where to find these individuals. So it's not like you have to go to court. That's not what happens here. You're given a reference number, a tip number, so that 45 days, somewhere down the line, you can call back in, give that reference number, and see if you are eligible for a reward. Not only are you cleaning up our streets, you're eligible for up to $5,000 reward, depending on what the crime that person is accused of. Red, we like to remind people why they need to be making these tip calls.
Because crime doesn't pay, Dan. Crime Stoppers does.
Absolutely, Red. Another successful week, another fugitive off the street last week. Let's see if our viewers can help us bring in one or two. Hey, maybe we go for 3 for 3 this week and get some of these individuals off our streets. Red, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan.
We'll see you next week. Again, this is a program we work with Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County and the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, just trying to do our part. Let's get these faces out there. Let's share these videos and get more of the fugitives off the street. Again, about a 38% capture rate when we feature individuals here. That makes our streets just a little bit safer. If we have any other breaking news, we'll bring it to you here on our digital platforms. We have a lot of streams lined up for today. I'll be anchoring our 11 o'clock news on CW43. But until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a great afternoon.
19 News is